Death. When it comes to animated villains, few can match the sheer terror of Death the Wolf. He isn't after power, money, or revenge. He is the embodiment of inevitability. From the moment he whistles in the shadows, audiences know something darker is coming. His red eyes pierce through bravado, his twin sickles glint with finality, and his calm voice strikes harder than any roar. Death is patient, relentless, and personal. He doesn't chase Puss for sport. He chases him because Puss wasted the gift of life, throwing away 8 lives like they were nothing. In doing so, Death became more than a villain. He became a force of nature, a judgment made flesh. Unlike most animated foes, he doesn't hide behind armies, gadgets, or schemes. He stalks, he confronts, he hunts. And when he fights, every strike is laced with inevitability. Death the Wolf isn't just a villain. He's a reminder that no hero escapes fate, making him one of the most chilling animated antagonists of all time. Kai. In the grand world of Kung Fu Panda, no villain feels as ancient and unstoppable as Kai, the spirit warrior. Once a brother in arms to Master Oogway, Kai's hunger for power corrupted him, driving him to steal chai from every master he faced. Banished to the spirit realm for centuries, he returned not as a man, but as a force of nature, unstoppable, fueled by vengeance, and armed with jade warriors made from the fallen heroes he conquered. What makes Kai stand out isn't just his brute strength or his larger-than-life design. It's the tragedy behind his fall. He began as a protector, but his greed for strength twisted him into a devourer of souls. His booming laughter, his brutal axe blades, and his thunderous presence made him a villain of legend. Unlike others, Kai doesn't simply defeat his enemies. He erases them, taking their very essence. That hunger for eternal dominance, that betrayal of brotherhood, makes him one of the most terrifying villains in animated history. Tai Lung. Tai Lung was raised under the watchful eye of Master Shifu. He was a natural-born fighter, destined to be the dragon warrior, or so he believed. His skill was unmatched, his discipline unshakable, and his hunger for greatness undeniable. But when Oogway saw the darkness in his heart and denied him the dragon scroll, Tai Lung's world shattered. That rejection consumed him, twisting admiration into rage. His brutal rampage through the Valley of Peace wasn't born of malice alone. It was born of betrayal, of feeling robbed of a destiny that had been promised. Every strike, every roar carried the pain of a fallen son, seeking validation. His prison escape is still one of the greatest villain sequences in animation, showcasing his ferocity and precision. Tai Lung wasn't evil for the sake of it. He was a broken warrior, denied purpose, proving that sometimes the deadliest villains are those who were once heroes in the making. El Macho. When it comes to sheer over-the-top villainy, El Macho is in a league of his own. A former luchador turned criminal mastermind, he lived up to his name by thriving on theatrics, brute force, and flair. His legend began with a story so absurd it became iconic. Strapping himself to a shark loaded with dynamite and diving into an active volcano. Presumed dead, El Macho returned in Despicable Me, 2 more dangerous than ever, wielding strength, charisma, and a plan to dominate the world. Unlike subtle manipulators or tragic prodigies, El Macho embodied spectacle, big muscles, big ego, and even bigger ambition. But behind the bravado was ruthless cunning. His use of the PX-41 serum to create an unstoppable minion army proved he wasn't just a showman, he was a strategist. El Macho represented the ultimate blend of power and personality, equal parts intimidating and hilarious. In a franchise filled with quirky villains, his fiery presence made him unforgettable, cementing him as one of animation's most entertaining bad guys. Gru. When we think of the greatest animated villains, Gru stands apart, not because of destruction, but because of reinvention. At first, Gru was every bit the archetypal villain, plotting to steal the moon, armed with freeze rays, an army of minions, and a flair for dramatic entrances. Yet Gru wasn't driven by blind malice. He was chasing validation after a childhood riddled with neglect and ridicule. His villainy came from a place of wanting to prove he mattered in a world that overlooked him. But what elevates Gru is his evolution. Through his rivalry with Vector, his schemes, and ultimately his adoption of Margot, Edith, and Agnes, we saw a villain slowly discover that love and family outshined infamy. Gru embodies the duality of villainy and redemption. He was one of the best villains, not for his cruelty, but for how he showed us that even the darkest hearts can change. Gru proved that sometimes the greatest villain of all can become the greatest hero. Turbo. Turbo was once the star of his own racing game, but his downfall came not from weakness but from pride. When a new, shinier racer stole the spotlight, Turbo couldn't accept being forgotten. He abandoned his own game, hijacked another, and in doing so, created one of the arcade's greatest disasters. Going Turbo. His jealousy warped him into King Candy, a sugary ruler with a sinister core. Beneath the goofy exterior lurked a monster, willing to rewrite code, erase identities, and destroy entire worlds just to be adored again. What makes Turbo such a compelling villain is how human his flaw is: fear of being replaced. His obsession with staying relevant mirrors the insecurity of fading stars, but amplified to apocalyptic levels. Turbo's betrayal, deception, and ultimate transformation into a glitching abomination showed how obsession corrodes greatness. He wasn't just a villain of pixels, he was a cautionary tale about ego, legacy, and the refusal to let go. Sid Phillips. Among towering monsters, warlords, and warriors, one of the scariest animated villains was just a kid. Sid Phillips. Unlike other villains with grand ambitions, Sid's evil was raw, chaotic, and disturbingly real. He wasn't out to rule kingdoms or conquer worlds. He simply delighted in destruction. To toys, Sid was a nightmare made flesh, tearing them apart, fusing them into grotesque creations, and laughing as he played God. What makes Sid terrifying isn't just his cruelty, it's his ignorance. He didn't know toys were alive, which made his brand of chaos even more unsettling. His room, littered with broken parts and twisted experiments, was a battlefield where innocence met horror. In many ways, Sid represents childhood's dark side, the destructive curiosity that turns into torment. For Woody and Buzz, he was the ultimate test of survival. Sid Phillips may not wield magic, strength, or power, but in the eyes of toys everywhere, he was a monster. That grounded terror makes him one of the most unforgettable villains in animation. Lord Shen. Lord Shen combines elegance and cruelty flawlessly. The exiled peacock prince was born into nobility. Shen's brilliance was matched only by his ambition. When a prophecy warned that a warrior of black and white would defeat him, he sought to erase the threat entirely, leading to a massacre of China's pandas. His obsession with control and legacy became his downfall. Unlike Tai Lung's brute force or Kai's raw power, Shen wielded intellect and innovation, creating cannons to render kung fu obsolete. His presence was chilling, not because of size or strength, but because of his cold precision and tragic depth. Shen is a villain defined by fear, insecurity, and the desire to prove destiny wrong. Every movement, every word, dripped with menace and aristocratic pride. He wasn't just trying to win a battle, he was trying to rewrite fate itself. That blend of genius, cruelty, and tragedy makes Lord Shen one of the greatest animated villains of all time.